Hello, and welcome to Principles of Marketing. I'm your Professor John Harvey, and this week you are working on Chapter 13 out of the text. So a little bit lighter. You're not having two chapters at once, and don't have a marketing evaluation breathing down your neck, or maybe you do. But anyway, this week you're working on Chapter 13. Hope you enjoy that material. It's good stuff. I did want to jump into actually all along the topic of the marketing evaluations. So you do have another one coming up, and I wanted to point out a couple things because I had a few questions about them. So for starters, the next marketing evaluation should be on a totally different company. You can't go back to the same company. You can't go back to the same person you interviewed. It should be a totally different one. This is a chance again to use your networking and strengthen your network by reaching out to another company, another industry, another business, that kind of thing, and do that. In addition to that, you're going to do all the same work that you did before, where you'll do an environmental analysis, you'll do a SWOT analysis, you'll also do that executive summary, but now you've got a couple more things to work on, and that's kind of what we had talked about last week. So you're going to be building this thing out. And my hope is by the time we do this for the third time, you guys have all this down. You have like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. I know how to do that. I've got all these pieces in. And so you can really kind of drive it in. This repetition helps you get better at these pieces, as well as, with networking. The more you do it, the better you get at it. So that's my intent, is that each of these marketing evaluations stands alone. They are their own. You've done them on different companies. You've gotten more experience, more interviews, and so by the end of the semester, you can write out a marketing plan, and you know exactly what you need to do to kind of do that. So that's the goal. That's the plan, and don't miss your opportunity again to use this as a tool to get yourself connected to somebody or some group that you really want to. Last thing I want to throw out is just I didn't really get a chance to talk about branding very much. So that was one of the chapters that we just covered. And branding, I mean, is super critical in a company and in a product line. We all like to point to Apple and to Nike and stuff like that. But one of the ones that you may or may not have thought of much is Intel, right? If you look at a computer anytime now, you'll look and you'll see like a little sticker on it, and it'll definitely call out what kind of processor is in that computer. And if it's an Intel one, it's it's V8, or it's Generation 7, or it's whatever it is, right? Intel has put in billions of dollars into marketing itself. And part of that, a big part of that, is the branding of who they are. Now, this branding thing can get huge in that people will actually go through and try and figure out what's the value of a brand, right? So, like Huffy bicycles, for example. Huffy bicycles were a very popular thing in the 70s, 80s, I think, right? And then Huffy went out of business. So they then sold off the brand to like some Japanese bicycle manufacturer or something like that, right? And so what's the value of the brand, right? People have a recollection of what Huffy is, right? Even though the product might be sourced from a totally different company, totally different way, just the fact that it's got that name, it's got that style, they really stick with you, and there's value just in that, right? Now, how that value gets created is a whole course. We can talk about, how do you create value in branding, right? But giving you just kind of some teasers there. It's like if you've got quality product, you're hitting the right target market, and you're communicating your value proposition, people will associate what you're calling your brand with that. And so that's how people start to make that connection, right? So if I said, any sort of these brands, you can get kind of a feeling like Nike, for example, you get this kind of sports athletic vibe, right? That's just like what they do, right? In other companies, you don't really get it necessarily. Like Johnson & Johnson, you kind of get it like a family thing, maybe you get that, right? But if I said something like Weyerhaeuser or some other brand, you'd go, yeah, I don't really know. It doesn't evoke a feeling or make a certain connection. And that's because they haven't really communicated their branding or really tapped into the value of what that can provide. So you can have the same product and you have the right label, the right branding on it, and it can command a higher price. So that alone gives you an idea of the value that branding can have. Now, all that being said, I wanted to jump into a kind of a different piece, and that is you have a personal brand. You are a brand for yourself. So think about this in terms of what your value proposition is. Okay, what do I bring to the table? When people see me, when they hear me, when I talk with them, what is communicated, right? And you can hone that branding so that when people say, oh, that guy, or that person, oh, yeah, I know that, and it kind of evokes this thought or this feeling or this emotion, that can be you, okay? So you hone and craft your own brand. And just to give you some examples, when you go into a restaurant or meet people, how you do that sets that apart, right? When you turn in your own work and either at work or in college or whatever, there's a communication of the quality and the kind of person that you are, okay? So I would encourage you to think about this, that branding, as you read through all that material, it's very interesting for a company and it's super valuable, and companies will spend billions of dollars on branding, okay? But I also want you to think about yourself as your own personal brand and what you would want to do and how you would want to communicate that to other people. All right, guys, with that deep thought, have a great week and I'll talk to you soon. All right.